What's up, everybody? Welcome back in to another episode of The Lawyer You Know. Today, we're breaking down day 5 of Brian Walsh's trial. And maybe I'm crazy. I've got some questions for you guys to keep me sane and see, am I just looking at this the wrong way? Or do you see what I see when it comes down to the timeline of some of these searches and text messages Brian Walsh made and the way the Commonwealth presents them versus the way the defense presents them, and which side adds more context to me is really interesting. But I want to know what you guys hear. So we're going to break down everything that happened on Friday. It was a short day, but a lot happened. So make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Let's get to it. So let me just tell you what I'm dealing with. Okay. Yes, it's still freezing. It's our last day here in Colorado. We're leaving today. And I loved it. It was fun to see the snow, hang out, come and do our business here. But first off, it's like impossible for me to live without my wife. I realize like I get up and like just nothing seems like it should. So that's very difficult. I miss my kids, of course. It's 6 a.m. here, and the closest coffee shop that I can walk to, actually the only one I can walk to in downtown, is doesn't open until 7 a.m. So both mornings I've gotten up at like 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning and have not had to immediately get my coffee, which is brutal. And I hate it. I don't have a lot of vices in life. I don't smoke, I don't drink, but coffee is a must. I love it. I run on coffee. I don't necessarily run on Dunkin', but I run on coffee. So we're going to do this with no coffee, 6 a.m. Colorado time. Hopefully it's 8 a.m. where you are. So you got a little more sleep than I did. But I'm excited that you guys are here with me. I'm excited to be able to do this. I mean, how awesome is the world and is YouTube and technology that I can fly across the country, handle some business I need to in person, but not skip a beat when it comes to coming and hanging out with you guys, breaking down this case, following this case together because of technology, because of YouTube, because of the internet, because of Wi-Fi, and how easy all of this is. So it's amazing. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so thankful to be able to continue to do this, even when I have other stuff to do. And it's not like a big burden, like, oh, I can't believe I have to do this. I like it. I think it's fun. I miss it when I don't do it. So I'm glad to be able to be here hanging out with you guys talking about this case. And what we're talking about today specifically is day number 5 in Brian Walsh's trial. So Connor Keefe is still on the stand. Uh, somebody said it's 9:30 where they are. Huh, interesting. Francis is like you're finally seeing what it's like in my time zone. Yeah. So when I do these 8 a.m. lives at home, I know a lot of you get up at 6 o'clock to come hang out with us, and that's awesome. And I feel your pain now, and I get to do it a couple times, which is sweet. So Hunter Keefe is still on the stand, and um, they finish up pretty quickly with the Commonwealth because they already put in a lot of searches, a lot of text messages with him yesterday or Thursday, I should say, and again, they do the numbers and the names, but at least they show us the text messages on the screen, which makes it a lot easier to follow. Maybe they were doing that before and I missed it, but from my perspective, it made it a lot easier to follow when you could actually look at the text messages and see who they're from, see who they're to. And they show just the very strange, weird, unexplainable texts that Brian Walsh is sending to Anna Walsh after he knows that she has passed. I think it was like January 2nd to the 4th. He's sending her all these texts like, where are you? I'm worried about you. And we see that I think all of the ones, maybe they were showing some text from the first as well, but from the 2nd to the 4th, none of them were delivered to Anna Walsh's phone, which I think is supposed to tell us that he got rid of her phone. Her phone no longer existed. It wasn't accepting text messages, whatever. He turned it off, got rid of the SIM card, whatever it is that he did. Here's one of the problems. I think, and this was kind of highlighted with this witness, and when we're going to get to cross, you'll see more of it. I think that one of the problems with the prosecution's presentation of the case is they left too much for, if I'm a juror, for me to figure out, right? Like, I don't feel like they're going all the way to connect the dots. They're giving us a lot of dots, and a lot of those dots are damning. A lot of those dots are bad. A lot of those dots are, this guy is guilty of something. I don't know what, but he's guilty of something. That's the definition of consciousness of guilt. And then as they find out he's admitting lying to the cops, he's going to be admitting to dismembering her body. So to me, I get it. And there's a lot of good evidence for them, but I still think you need to actually connect these dots. And maybe they're going to do it with future witnesses because law enforcement a lot of times doesn't know, if they handled this part of the investigation, they might not know this part, and it's kind of compartmentalized. especially when you're trying to avoid one of the lead investigators in the case who may have had his fingerprints on everything. And we're going to hear his name later. He who shall not be named. His name comes up and the jury gets to hear it. Does anybody from that jury, from that town, know that name? And are they going to think a certain way when they hear that name? What do you guys think? Because I know there's a lot of people from Mass in here. What do you guys think when the jury hears the P word? What are they going to think? Then we get to cross, okay? And that's where the bulk of the day was. He starts out by saying, you can turn off your location data, right? And you limited the location data. You didn't look at all the different devices you could have looked at. Why not? Why are you guys being so limited? Now, in some cases, if you actually had some teeth to that and you could say, well, we do have the location data and this is where he was. But this time it's just like, again, trying to highlight some doubt that is pretty ineffective from the defense's side at the beginning, at least. But then we start to get into some context I did think was helpful that the defense provided. And this is where I start to ask myself, Peter, are you crazy? Are you trying to give the defense too much of the benefit of the doubt in this case and trying to figure it out from their side? Because both sides are kind of making this confusing for me and leaving me to try and figure out, like, what are they trying to get at? But I do think the defense did a better job of bringing context to some of these searches and some of these text messages than the Commonwealth did, which left me to believe that if the Commonwealth didn't add context, were they trying to mislead me if I was a juror? Were they trying to mislead the jury? Were they trying to use certain buzzwords and searches to make it look like he was doing something, Brian Walsh, when he really wasn't? He was doing something completely innocent or completely normal or something that you and I would do. Clearly not after January 1st, okay? Every text message, phone call, and search after January 1st is as damning and as criminal as it could ever be. But some of those earlier ones where we were like, that's a head scratcher. Why would he be doing that? Let's take a listen here to part of this exchange and cross.
Yes, there would be more information.
Okay. But as you sit here today and based on what is and is not included in Exhibit 161, you can't give us more context to any of those searches regarding flight information, can you?
No.
Yesterday, and I'm going to ask you to turn to page 4. Yesterday, you were asked questions about an entry on page 4, record number 42. Am I saying that right when I refer to record number 42? Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That was a search regarding what?
Number 42. Would you like to read the date, time, or just the search term, sir?
You can read it anything you want.
Okay.
Yes, to make it complete.
Item 42. The search occurred on December 25th, 2022, 12:28 p.m. And the search was Xmas Day plane crash.
Okay.
So when we heard that, we were like, what? That's weird. Why would he search that? Was he hoping for something? Was he plotting something? Was he planning something? Is that going to be our first evidence of premeditation, of some reflection on his part that this is what he wanted to happen to Anna Walsh? That's what I was thinking when the Commonwealth was presenting it, because they left me to try to figure out what is the importance of that search. But now the defense adds this context.
The search occurred on December 25th, 2022, 12:28 p.m. And the search was Xmas Day plane crash.
Okay. And those types of searches, and when I say those types, the subject matter that's contained in record number 42, it continues through record number 45 on page 4, doesn't it?
Yes.
And that is timestamp 12/31/03 at record number 49.
Correct.
Now, yesterday you were also asked about a specific reference, and once again, page 4, record number 53. And that's the record that indicates Anna Walsh found dead, correct?
Correct.
And
Another one that was like, what? Why is he searching this on Christmas? This is a week before she passed. Like that's wild.
those searches continue through 12:45:58 on page 4, don't they?
Yes.
Now, it's fair to say that once again, if you had the web history to that particular search, that would give more context into what that particular search is that you just talked about at number 54, record number 53 at page 4. It would give you more information and more context, would it not?
It would. Yes.
You have no idea, do you, as you sit here today, what the user was thinking when he or she inputted that search that you just testified to, do you?
I do not. I know the content of it. I do not know the intent of it.
Okay. Are you aware of the fact, given the fact that you're an investigator, and I presume you conducted some investigation in this case on behalf of the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, are you aware of the fact that that Mrs. Anna Walsh, her flight was canceled on 12/25?
Yes.
And did you?
Oh, yeah, that's right. We did know that. That seems like much better context to plane crash. Anna Walsh dead. Now, still weird. And I'm not sure that's the first thing I would Google, but clearly Brian Walsh and I don't have the same Google habits. But that's the actual context of those. Why did you put those searches in? If you're the Commonwealth, now I need to know why you put those searches in. Because if you put them in just to make it seem like premeditation, when we know that she, I think, showed up late for Christmas, and I think she already missed another holiday, and he was mad or upset. So he was looking like something bad must have happened because she know I'd be pissed off if she didn't show up for Christmas. And then later she says, my flight's canceled, I'm driving. But while he's waiting, to me, this makes a lot more sense. And Miss D. Mina said, because he's worried about where his wife was. I don't know. From my perspective, that makes more sense than just saying a title or a word and leaving it out there. You guys let me know if I'm crazy, though. If I'm crazy and you're like, no way, this is premeditation, this is what he wanted to do to Anna, let me know. Because I did not catch that, but maybe if, both of us were on the jury, you would have a completely different thought when it comes to that. Bill Baral, thank you for gifting 5 Lawyer memberships. So that was my perspective. Couldn't he just search the flight number? That seems more reasonable. I agree. There's definitely other things that he could have done. Definitely other things he could have done. I get it. But so what do you think that is then? What are those searches? What is the relevance and the importance of those searches? Explain that to me. Because I don't know. Yes, I know. Listen, that's never going to change, Stephanie. That's never going to change. That fact will always be there, will always be something that I think carries the day at the end of the day. And the reason Brian Walsh, has no shot here. But I really think these searches, I'm starting to feel a little bit like some of the titles and just saying one word or just saying the title with no context feels a little like misrepresentations from the state that are unnecessary. And if I was the state, I wouldn't have put in more than I needed because you have so much. You have so much good evidence, damning evidence. Yes, 3 sets of records, flipping back and forth, very confusing for all. Did Tipton really have to go that far? He even confused himself and had to take a break. I agree. While I thought there were some really good highlights of this cross-examination, I thought it was completely disjointed. It felt unorganized and unprepared. I don't think it actually was. I think he was prepared. But like you're saying, there's so many different binders and sets of records. And nobody seemingly just created something in a timeline. If I was the defense, I would have done a timeline, written it down while I asked him, and said, okay, this is from binder 1. This is what this search said. But this is what the text from Anna Walsh said. And this is where his phone location was, whatever. Put it in a timeline that would make it easily digestible for the jury. Because the way it was presented was confusing, and usually confusing is good for the defense. Usually confusing is good for the defense. The defense wants the jury not to figure out, what is the state trying to prove here? But from my perspective, in this case, it's different. Confusing is actually good for the jury because at the end of the day, if you don't know what the context is and you hear Anna Walsh dead, you hear the M word, you hear cheating spouse, you hear all my exes, and it's like, That doesn't sound very good, Mr. Walsh. So I think the state or the Commonwealth would be fine with the jury just taking the simplest meaning, basically. Same thing with the nightshade noodle bar. Like, why didn't we explain what that is? And the fact that maybe they were going to go to dinner and he planned to go to dinner with her. Doesn't that prove that he actually thought she was going to live? Chew on that. What do you guys think about that? Because to me, that was one of the bigger things here is the jury going to start thinking maybe the Commonwealth is misleading us? That was a big thought I had on Friday. And while it's not going to overcome the overwhelming evidence they've presented so far, I'm wondering if it's an unforced error. And as a trial lawyer, I'm always trying to perfect the craft and figure out the best way to try cases. And would simplifying this and not do that be better? Or did you just think every single search and text message they showed for Brian Walsh was more damning than the last, and they piled on to create a mountain of evidence? Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. I'm a huge cereal guy, especially late at night while watching TV, but sometimes the nutrition facts make me pause. Not with today's sponsor, Magic Spoon. 13 to 14 grams of protein, 0 sugar, and 4 to 5 grams of net carbs in each serving, so you can feel good about what you're eating. I also struggle to get enough protein every day, so it's a huge help with that, especially at night, right? Just knocking it out. They are crispy, crunchy, and airy without the chewy stickiness of a protein bar, the ideal protein on the go. The only problem with Magic Spoon is that my mother-in-law, who is a personal trainer, is always stealing my cereal and bars. Use my code LAWYERYOUKNOW or click the link in the description to try Magic Spoon cereal or treats today and get $5 off. You can also find Magic Spoon on Amazon or in your nearest grocery store. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee online. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. So click on the link in the description and go to magicspoon.com/lawyeryouknow or scan the QR code on the screen for $5 off. All right, we are back and we are going to take a look at another section where they add context. And Jason said, I felt a lot of cherry picking by the Commonwealth and still have not showed anything about the M. So from my perspective, this would be my fear. If I was the prosecutor on this case, Jason would be my fear. Am I doing enough? Am I just throwing up some smoke and mirrors and not getting to the actual meat of the M? That's a big question. That's a big question I think the jury still has. Do you think the good context could have been lost, though, with reading all the text? Hey, it's another thing. The mind of a trial lawyer is constantly ping-ponging back and forth. But once you make a decision and you go for it, you have to be committed to it. And you got to believe it. Too much. In this instance, maybe less really could have been more. I think it is possible. I do think it is possible. All right, let's listen to the defense attorney try to add more context to some of these texts and searches. Okay, just kidding. I must have the wrong. All right, here we go. We're back. This is one of the many breaks. I mean, it's perfect. I couldn't even skip all the breaks. There were so many during this cross.
Based on your review, Trooper Keith, of the contents on the iPhone that is the subject of Exhibit 161.
If you can't hear it when he walks away from the mic, no big deal. I'll repeat the important stuff.
It's fair to say that in the searches running from the date of December 25th of 2022 up and including the end of December 31st of 2022, you saw no evidence of searches in the Safari search history regarding any searches for things like tools or searches suggesting how to dispose of a body or anything like that, correct?
I did not.
So I may have missed the beginning part of this clip that I wanted to play, but he added some context to the Mazda building that they presented them with no context, but that's where she works. And there were some things going on there, and they go back to January 29th. It wasn't just after she passed. He added a lot of context with those, I thought, as well, too. But then this is another one. No Google searches of any planning or preparation on dismembering a body or doing anything or committing any crimes from December 25th to January 1st. And that's what we kind of said from the beginning. If this is a guy who Googles every step of every crime he's going to commit, why did we not see any of those sooner?
Not see any of those December 25th to the 29th.
Okay. And it's fair to say that based on your review of the search queries that were made, and they're contained in Exhibit 161, what you see for the search queries, it's fair to characterize them as there's multiple searches for various actors and actresses and music and movies, piano lessons, kinder care, and even a dog barking toy. Do you recall those?
I do, sir, yes.
And you were asked something about yesterday, and I'm sorry I don't have a citation, and that's my fault. But you remember telling this jury about a search that involved something called My Exes?
Yes.
Then the search right below it, I think, if you recall, and I once again apologize I don't have a citation, but I think you were asked on direct that it also had something like a reference to a song, correct?
Yes,
But you weren't asked to give context to that at all. You just told the jury what the search was, correct?
that's correct.
And you would agree with me, wouldn't you, sir, that once again, there's just nothing nefarious about someone searching for what turns out to be a country western song, correct?
Correct.
Again, is it a home run? No, but I think that that's good context to some of the stuff the Commonwealth presented. Now, Heather said, and the point that he Googled other things is what? I agree. I don't know why they're so focused on all these other things he Googled, except maybe his state of mind that he was planning on being with Anna Walsh after January 1st. So why would he do this to her if that was his plan, right? Why would he plan dinner? Why was he planning on buying her a Porsche or jewelry or, looking at investment properties? I think that's why they're presenting that. Like there was no plan here. She woke up, or Brian Walsh woke up January 1st and something happened, and you guys, the jury, have to figure out what happened. Either son had unexplained death that was at no fault of Brian Walsh's, or Brian Walsh, something happened, snapped, and he did it that morning, still not premeditated and intentional. That's what they're trying to set up, I think, with some of these other Google searches. Some of them I think are irrelevant, like Heather said, but some of them I think do have relevance to show anything planned and prepared and premeditated had to do with them being together, not separate. Kel said, just wanted to thank you for keeping me sane while prepping for 3L finals. Last one of the semester this afternoon, so close. Oh, I remember that feeling. It's so great. It's such a great feeling. Keep grinding, push through, crush it, and then enjoy your holiday break. Wick, in my opinion, his level of paranoia actually makes him more believable that he would have ended her life if he found out about the affair. If I can't have her, no one will. Well, I think his level of paranoia could work both ways, right? Because they're saying that's why he lied to the police, dismembered her body, because he was paranoid that everybody would think it was him, even if it wasn't him. And especially if he did know about the affair, he's like, oh, I'm going to be suspect number one if, she's having this affair and I have these legal troubles. Listen, I don't think it's a very good defense, but I'm just trying to explain what the defense is thinking and what they're trying to argue through the case. Question, Peter, do you think he pleaded guilty? Why do you think he pleaded guilty to the two lesser charges but continued to trial against the higher charge of M? So I did a whole video on this. I think my dad was on it as well for some of the benefits and risks. I have not seen a lot of benefits come out through this trial. But for the deeper answer to that, I did a whole hour-long video breaking this down. It should be on the Brian Walsh playlist. And I think it was Brian Walsh Pleads Guilty was the title of the video.
Trooper Keefe, you in the past applied for search warrants, haven't you?
I have, sir.
And you know what the procedure is, correct?
So then they get into this, another argument about search terms and whether or not he can answer this or somebody else should better answer this. And, that brings up a lot of whose job was it to do what on this case. And that was something that has kind of been a common theme throughout. Like you did this, you did that. But why don't we have somebody that can just testify to all of this and everything? Let's take a listen to this little clip. And I missed it.
I'll see you both at the side of the bench.
During,
You have to speak up a little bit.
sorry. Could you
Let me
repeat
find this clip.
the question again?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was.
This video is becoming as disjointed as his cross. It can't be this far. I can't miss it. I've missed it by this much. All my timestamps seem to be a little off on this one. Seriously, it can't be this far off. All right, well, then I'll just say it, okay? I'll say it. I'm not afraid to say it. Some people in that courtroom might be afraid to say it, but I won't. Who was the case officer on this case? Michael Proctor. So that, to me, his name highlighted there as the case agent on this case. He's the one who probably has to answer a lot of these questions that the defense wants to know. Why did you limit the search warrants? Why didn't you go look at his search history to see if this was normal for him to search, every time she was an hour late? Did she die? Did he search that every single time? Was he always looking up numbers to where she worked or where she was? Right? Was that a common theme in his search history? Now, I'd be willing to bet that the defense would have objected and, there would have been some other problems, but Trooper Proctor is probably the right person to ask that question, which leads me then to my next point. Will Proctor be called? I surely don't think the Commonwealth's going to call him. I think they're doing a really great job, actually, of insulating Michael Proctor and trying to talk about him as little as they possibly can and trying to show how they don't need him to prove this case. But if I'm the defense, his name has come up enough. I might consider calling him. You don't have much. So if you can put the lead case agent up there and destroy his credibility, maybe there will be a juror that's like, maybe they didn't prove premeditation. Maybe you can get something for just showing how horrible the lead case agent is. I don't know. How would it make you feel as a juror? Because I think I would put him up. I don't think they have enough in this case to make a strategic decision to be like, oh, while this is a good piece for us, we're not going to use it. They got to use every piece that's even marginally good for them, in my opinion. So Mass does have lead detective. Well, it depends on which officer you ask. Trooper Yuri Buchanan will argue with you about that. But he also takes everything Proctor did as gospel. So then we get to the location data PowerPoint. And again, the defense attorney is always like, you could have gotten more. You could have used the other devices to try to line these up and see what's what. And you didn't. Why didn't you? And then we get to our next clip here, which hopefully is actually the right clip out.
That you testified to yesterday, check a flight, JetBlue?
That is correct.
Now I'm going to ask that in Exhibit 169, page 2, dated 12/25/22 at 11:54:05. The top of the page, you see that? Yes. You see that, Trooper?
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
At 11:54:05 a.m., the text message from number 8646 to phone number 7966, there's a message of, I haven't heard from you at all, correct?
Correct.
And then
And so now what he's doing here is he's setting up more context with the text messages about why he Googled certain things that the Commonwealth wants you to think are nefarious, but I'm going to provide context since you didn't, Officer Keefe, and the Commonwealth didn't. I'm the one here who has credibility, is what Tipton is trying to do, what the defense attorney is trying to do here.
I'm going to ask that, Trooper, you look at Exhibit 161 again that you have, and look at page 2, record number 21.
Yes.
That's an entry at 12:09:24 p.m. And it is one of the searches you testified to yesterday regarding William Fasto, misspelled, William Fasto, DC Real.
Correct.
And so then you go down to,
So after he was trying to find Anna Walsh and contact Anna Walsh and figure out where she was back in December on Christmas, that's why he's Googling William Fasto. He's trying to find his phone number to ask if he can call him to see if he found Anna. So some other questions would arise. Why are you picking him? Did you know that, they would be hanging out together? Because they didn't really work together, right? He sold you the house. They were friends. I get that. But at least it adds some context. He was looking for her. That's why he Googled Fasto, not because he knew they were having an affair and he was doing a deep dive or research, which is what I said before. I was like, maybe the Commonwealth's trying to show he's doing some research on this affair, research on William Fasto. Well, I think they wanted to leave that open to the jury's imagination. And the defense is like, no, it makes perfect sense that he was trying to find Anna, so he called William Fasto there. Now, do you think that's reasonable, normal, something you would do? I don't know. You guys can tell me. But I thought it was good to add some context here. Ashley said, I have that lawyer, hat. A lot of people have a lot of comments about my jacket and hat. It is freezing still inside. I don't like the heat pumping. So I think I have it on like 65 or something, which is comfortable. I'm not like freezing. But I hate when it's like 75 when it's cold outside in the heat and you like can't even breathe and get all stuffed up from the heat. That's just me. And I don't put the heat on a lot, obviously, in Florida. My favorite comment so far was probably, hey, Peter, I love you, buddy, but why are you wearing your wife's jacket? It's fair. That's fair. She has one that's like exactly like this. This is one of my favorite jackets. It's the most comfortable, softest jacket. And then there's a lot of people saying they like my jacket. I appreciate that as well. Some of them are probably women. Probably most of them are women making Buddy's point. So I appreciate you coming with the honesty. So okay, so let's keep listening here.
I'm going to ask you to continue to look at now page 3 of Exhibit 161 at record 27 at 12:09:28 p.m. Looks like 0.4 of a second.
And Laura said, it's not reasonable if you already know she's died in bed. This was on December 25th, Christmas. When her flight was canceled, she was driving, she was late, he was trying to find her, he was Googling, was there a plane crash? And then Googling, who can I call to see if, they know where Anna Walshe is? Very different context on December 25th and January 1st.
And that is a search entitled William Fasto, DC Real Estate, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And now I'm going to ask you to look at what was marked as Exhibit 161, the call log, at page 11, record 137, a search dated at timed at 12:15 p.m.
Sir, that was Exhibit 168 is the call log.
Oh, I've already messed
Exhibit
it up.
161.
I did. 168. 168.
Okay, I'm going to have to take it out of the binder here. It's stapled.
Take your time, and I apologize.
Okay, sir, could you go again with that?
Yes, absolutely. 168 at page 11, I'll call it record 137. Time-stamped 12:15?
Yes, 137.
Time-stamped 12:15 p.m., correct?
December 25th, 2022, 12:15 p.m., yes.
And that, from the call log, that indicates some interaction between the two devices, and that Exhibit 168 has to do with phone ending in 8646 and phone ending in 7966, correct? Assigned to Brian Walsh and Anna Walsh, correct?
Yes.
And there is a 1-minute, 23-second call between those two phones, correct?
Yes.
We don't know the content, do we?
I do not.
Okay. And then as you continue to proceed in this relevant time period, you go to Exhibit 161 again at page 3, record 35.
Yes.
And that is a search conducted at 12:22:06 p.m., correct?
Yes.
And the search is Anna Walsh, Tishman Spear. Is that right?
Yes.
Which again, going through this is methodical. It can be boring, but setting up the timeline, that makes it a lot more reasonable. Some of these searches and calls and things that he did on December 25th, which again, almost highlights how horrible it was on January 1st and unreasonable it was on January 1st. But I get what they're trying to do here. Joanne said, I don't think that Proctor is probably going to be called because he probably actually did his job in this one. Your thoughts? I'd still call him. I'd still call him, attack his credibility, ask what he did, why he didn't. I mean, anything you think he didn't do, like he didn't get enough searches. He didn't get a big enough time period. Why did he limit it so much? Why didn't he talk to this person? Why didn't he talk to that person? Well, it's because you're unethical. That really is difficult for a cop to get over. This is a good question. Bruised violence. Peter, do you think the defense will fight for no lesser included on the verdict form? So if you have a really strong case and you think you've beaten premeditation, and maybe they feel that way in this case, and that might be their best hope is to beat premeditation, and you go all or nothing and get a not guilty on first degree intentional homicide, you're a hero, right? To your client, at least. I don't know about to the citizens of the community, but I would say if I'm the defense attorney in this case, and I'm thinking strategically and how I know juries and how I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on how juries are going to be, we never know. Obviously, it's all guessing, but it's an educated guess based on our experience and research and what we know and have done in the past. This would not be a case I would do that on. I think if you went all or nothing in this case, either intentional first degree homicide or nothing, the jury is going to convict 100 times out of 100. I think if you give them a lesser included and you parse out and explain to them the difference in the legal definitions, and did they prove intentional? Did they prove premeditated? If they didn't, and they just proved he was the only one there, the only one with the opportunity, the only one with the tools, so he, ended her life, but we don't know the circumstances as to why or when or how exactly he did, well, then you can get some kind of lesser included, which still might be a more fair and just and better result and verdict for Brian Walshe and have a lesser penalty. That's what I would do and get, some type of legal win, although it's not really a huge win. Because I think if you go all or nothing with these searches and this action and this lying to the police and everything they have going on with Brian Walshe in this case, I think they're going to convict. Vanity Trust. Why do you suddenly have faith in Proctor? This is why I'm so glad this is live and so different from like a news channel or something where you just, you watch a talking head, because this was misunderstood and we're able to clear this up, at least some of them sometimes. I'm saying if I'm the defense, I'm calling Proctor. So I have faith in the opposite of Proctor, right? I have faith that no one should have faith in Proctor. And that's what I meant by I would call him if I was the defense, not the Commonwealth. I think the Commonwealth is doing a good job of doing this without him. His wife missed Thanksgiving and Christmas morning. He was anger justified. Chopping up your wife, not. He did it. Maybe not M1, but the Commonwealth has enough to convict. So I think this is a good summary of how a lot of people could think looking at this case. All right, we're going to listen to a little bit more of this. I know part of this is a little bit dry, but I want you to kind of see some of the different ways that the defense attorney set this up.
Now we stay on Exhibit 161 for the next 5 requests. 161, page 4, record 43. Timestamp 12/28/57.
Yes.
Search Christmas Day plane crash.
That's correct.
Same exhibit 161, dated 12/25/22, same time period, page 4, record 50. I'm sorry, record. Yep, I'm right. Record 50.
I also wanted to give you some examples of how difficult this truly can be. I'm going to kick up the speed a little bit here so we can get through this part.
Would you like to read the content, sir?
Yes, go ahead.
Number 50, December 25th, 2022, 12:31 p.m. Jeff Chad Tishman Spire.
Right.
Cyper.
Now just keep going down. Exhibit 161, 12/25/22, page 4, record 53.
Anna Walshe found dead.
12/45/47, correct?
Yes.
And once again, I think you just told the jury, Anna Walshe found dead. Correct?
Yes, sir.
And as we continue to go down, the next is Exhibit 161, page 5, record 57, at 12:46:10 p.m.
Yes.
And it's a search for Jeff Chad, C-H-O-D.
Correct.
Now, I'm going to ask you to look at Exhibit 168 at page 11, record 132. Timestamp 12:57 p.m.
Yes.
It indicates a phone call between these two phones
Yes.
that lasted 4 minutes and 45 seconds.
Yes, it's an outgoing call from the device ending in 8646 to the number 7966 Anna New.
Okay, and you don't know what they were talking about, if they were talking at all. You just know that there was a call that lasted 4 minutes and 45 seconds between those two phones at that time.
Correct.
And then if you'll go back to, I'm sorry, if we could have page 2 on the exhibit 169 for 12:57:26. And the entry is, as seen on the screen, my flight got canceled driving up. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So just stopping there. Between 11:52, we started with 11:52, exhibit 161. We're now down at the time period of 12:57. Is it fair to say that what it looks like is that Anna Walsh, at least Anna Walsh's phone, texted the phone assigned to Mr. Walsh and told and texted, my flight got canceled and I'm driving up?
Yes.
And before that, those texts that you read to the jury, where they're entered, Anna Walsh found dead are a plane crash, correct? The ones you testified to just a moment ago? Those searches, they appear to be searches to see if some harm came to Anna Walsh, correct?
Again, I can read the context. I don't know the content of the search.
But did you consider that in your investigation of the case when you looked at all this data together?
That specific search and text message?
All this data together that you just now told the jury about. Did you look at all that data together at one time, like you've just done for the jury, and created a context for all of those communications in those 3 different sources of information? Did you ever do that?
What 3? The call log, 3 sources? I'm not sure what.
Did you do it?
Tipton's like, you had the Google searches, you had the text message, you had the call logs. Why didn't you put them all together to create this timeline and give us proper context? Why am I having to do it? Why is the Commonwealth not being honest with this jury? I think that's what he's trying to do. I do. Joanne said, Peter, from what I've learned from you so far, I think this was not premeditated, but he still ended her life. And I see a lot of people in the comments saying, I think it's more second degree than first degree. And that would kind of agree with Joanne's comment. Golden then on the other side says, this is the first time I can't keep an open mind. Common sense tells me, of course, he knew. That's why he ended her life and chopped her up. I get it. And I think this is going to be a very common sentiment in this jury. If they do interviews afterwards, I think they're going to be horrified at all the facts they heard throughout this case.
I've looked at all 3 of them multiple times.
Did you ever look and compare them and see that there were searches that looked like someone was concerned about the harm that may have come to Anna Walsh, and then when Anna Walsh texted and said, my flight got canceled, none of those alarming texts occurred.
Objection.
As to the characterization,
Yes.
sustained.
Did you see, I understand. Did you see any other text after the 12:57 text from Anna Walsh's phone saying my flight got canceled driving up? Did you see any text after that where there were any searches about plane crash or is Anna Walsh dead or anything like that? You didn't see anything like that, did you?
I would have to review them again, sir.
I think he made his point, and I think he did a good job there, the defense attorney, even though it was disjointed. But can they convict him on second degree? It depends on if it gets on the verdict form or not. We haven't heard those arguments yet. I haven't heard them go through the jury instructions yet. Bruce Violet said, can premeditation be moments or minutes? Yes, absolutely. But there's still got to be some proof of it, right? From my perspective, that's an element of the crime. They still have to prove it. And from everything that we're seeing, that's why they're focusing so much on the motive, the financial motive and the affair as a motive. But in order for the affair to be a motive, he's got to know about it, right? And in order to prove that he knows about it, they've got to show something that the jury can pull a reasonable inference from, which can be pretty broad. But that's the last section of cross that I wanted to show you, is how this defense attorney kind of picked apart or tried to use this witness as his witness to prove Brian Walsh, in fact, did not see any of those messages. Because if he did, and you could prove it, certainly you would have showed this jury because you knew how important that was.
I don't recall if you saw. Now, look, you said to my question, you said, I don't recall if you saw communications on the iPhone mini between Anna Walsh and William Fastow using Facebook Messenger.
Correct.
You don't recall?
I don't.
Of course, in the nature of this case and the fact that you are assigned to the Norfolk County DA's office, and it would be pretty important, wouldn't it, if in fact you found messaging that was between Anna Walsh and William Fasto on the phone assigned to Brian Walsh. That'd be pretty important stuff, wouldn't it?
Yes.
So in case you can't hear the question because he walked away from the mic, he's like, if you would have found proof that Brian Walsh saw text messages showing this affair and proving this affair, you would have wanted to show that to this jury. You would have given that to the DA. That would have been pretty important, right? But you didn't because they don't exist because you can't prove that he did. Again, I thought this was a good line of questioning personally. You guys let me know if you thought it had any effect or not.
And as you sit here today, and I ask you a very simple question, did you see any Facebook Messenger messages between Anna Walsh and William Fasto? You said, I don't recall. But that'd be right, that's what you said.
Yes.
You would agree, that's pretty important. That would be pretty important evidence if you found that on that phone, wouldn't it?
Yes.
And you would agree that with regards to Apple iMessage, text message, you didn't find any iMessages appearing on the phone assigned to Brian Walsh, iMessages between Anna Walsh and William Fasto, correct?
No.
Yeah. So he's like, you looked at him and you didn't find him. Tennille said, technically they don't have to prove motive, but they definitely have it here. So yeah, they don't have to prove motive. But without a motive, what do they have in this case showing premeditation and intentional homicide, right? So that's what I'm trying to wrap my mind around right now. And you guys help me out with that. Tell me what you've seen without the motive, because I think motive and planning it, coming up to, her getting home and him getting angry about it and deciding to do it then before she went back early. Maybe she did tell him, hey, screw this. I don't want to hang out with you anymore. I'm going back early. And he's like, yeah, I know why you're going back early. And then maybe that happened with that motive can add to that intentional premeditated side if you want to make those reasonable inferences and jumps. But without motive, how are you proving premeditation or any intention in this case? Because you can prove premeditation and intention without motive. Like, you don't have to have a motive. Sometimes it's like, why would they do that? I don't know, but we know they did. We know they planned it. We know they wanted to.
And of course, in the context of this, that would be pretty important evidence. If you found any communications, whatever form, on the phone assigned to Brian Walsh, communications between Anna Walsh and William Fasto, wouldn't it?
Yes.
And the other thing you did not find is any evidence of deleted messages using Facebook Messenger on the iPhone, the Mini.
I would have to take a look, sir. I don't recall specifically.
I recall him saying they didn't find anything deleted. The only person that said they deleted anything was William Fasto. And if he was going to delete some stuff, I can think of a couple other things Brian Walsh might have wanted to delete.
Okay, but once again, that software you use, whether it be Celebrite or Magnet Gray Axiom, it's able to detect deleted materials. In fact, that's one of the forensic tools, one of the forensic reasons it's used to see if there's deletions of data that might be important to a case, correct?
Well, it all depends the software that company has published at the time, the software the device is running. So never do they get all the data extracted from a device. So the deleted data may never be parsed out and read.
Okay, well,
There's a lot of factors that go into that.
but if you wanted to find messages, whether they be Facebook Messenger or Apple iMessages between Anna Walsh and William Fasto, and you thought it was, as you told us, it would be very important evidence to find, you would do everything you could as a forensic digital specialist to try to find them, wouldn't you?
Well, her device was never recovered, sir.
I'm sorry?
Her device was never recovered.
I'm talking about the phone assigned to Brian Walsh.
You just said messages on her device between.
If I did, I apologize, and I might very well. Thank you for correcting me. Messages between Anna Walsh and William Fasto appearing on the phone assigned to Brian Walsh. That would be pretty important evidence, correct?
Yes.
And you would do everything you could as a digital forensic specialist to try to find that, wouldn't you?
Yes.
And
It's a great point. You're the specialist. You're the expert. You know it's important. You're going to do every single thing you can to find that, and you didn't find it. Do you think that because the Commonwealth showed how Brian Walsh lied to law enforcement at first about Anna's disappearance, then it shows that you can't believe he didn't know anything about the affair? He's a fraud. He's a liar. He admits to lying. His lawyer said he's a liar. You can't believe anything this guy says or does. Of course, I think that's a huge theory and theme of the entire case. Rosie's said, I live in Western Mass, and what bothers me is we have some awesome MSP down here that are getting a bad rap because of these idiots. So what I'll say is we try to highlight that as much as we can throughout these trials, that a few bad apples doesn't make the whole batch bad, but there are definitely some ones that need some fixing, and it feels like there's a lot, and even some higher ups. So I think highlighting it hopefully will help correct it so the good ones that are there don't have to get this bad rap anymore. Judy said his mother hired a private investigator for him. He knew about the affair. So at least one person says this every video. And I just want to remind everybody, this is not an evidence yet. So we're not going to consider it until it is an evidence. And once it's an evidence, then we can add that to, our mix of what's in the soup before we try to figure out what the final answer is going to be. But for now, we're just trying to consider what has been entered into evidence. Aura gifted 10 Lawyer memberships. Thank you so much, Aura. That's awesome. Welcome to all the new members. If you guys haven't yet, take a second, hit that like button, and make sure you're subscribed, because sometimes YouTube will unsubscribe people. Make sure you're subscribed so you can come check out all of our daily recaps. And late last night, I recorded a podcast with my dad breaking down the entire first week of Brian Walsh, and you guys are going to laugh. You guys are going to be disgusted and horrified. You guys are going to be like, oh, wow, that was a good point. I didn't think about that. From so many of his takes, you're going to like it. You're not going to want to miss it. So make sure you're subscribed and you've hit that reminder bell. I think Monday morning is usually when we post it at 8 a.m. If you guys push me enough, maybe we will post it Sunday night so you guys can listen to what my dad thinks before the trial starts again on Monday morning. Let me know in the comments if you want us to post it early. You can get on Twitter and Instagram and tell us you want us to post it early, and we will see. Maybe we will post that podcast with my dad tomorrow night. And then it's just 7 days a week you're getting Brian Walsh. I don't know whether you wanted it or not, or whether you needed it or not, but it might just be what you end up getting. Okay, after Keefe is off the stand, we get a retired trooper who basically goes through the contents of the dumpster again. They actually show the hacksaw, the snips, and all that to the jury, which, what damning evidence that is, what gruesome, creepy, horrible evidence that is. From my perspective, it's just anytime you can show that to the jury, this is her doing that now, pulling each one out to show the jury. And, every time you can do that, to me, it's just like every time you can talk about these Google searches or him lying to the police, you do it because it's damning evidence. And that's what you have here. Then the last witness is the medical examiner, who talks about some carpet and some things he looked at in this case. It's going to just show you what he looked like for those picturing if they watched it yesterday. When was he shown? Probably earlier on in his testimony. There we go. So here's the Emmy who went through his education experience, and he is going to continue to testify on Monday. So we're going to get a lot more from him, but a very unusual circumstance, right? He explained what an autopsy was, which if I was the Commonwealth, I would ask, autopsies can figure out cause of death, right? And so it doesn't have to be unexplained. If you take it to an autopsy, you can figure out if it was a heart attack or a stroke or a pulmonary embolism or whatever, right? You can figure that out in an autopsy. I would ask him those questions. They haven't yet, but he's trying to figure out, are there human remains or tissue on some of these items that he was given to test? And they're going through some of those items like the carpet so far, but the bulk of his testimony will be on Monday. So that was the day. Friday, it was short, but they got a lot done. Allie said, let it snow. I think snow is amazing. I love it, especially from Florida. Anytime I can see it, I'm down. I want to see it. I want to experience it, but then I want to leave and go home after I'm done, right? So yes, let it snow, let it snow. So that's it. Short day on Friday, but a really interesting one, especially from the defense's side. And did they get any jurors to think the Commonwealth's misrepresenting anything? I don't know, but I'm going to read the comments and see what you guys thought. You guys are the best. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me on Saturday morning. I love starting my weekend like this. A long day of travel. I'm about to go hit a nice long walk in the snow again because I got to get my 10,000 steps every day. No days off. I'm getting it every day, no matter what, even when I'm on, in Colorado. I almost said California, not in California. Joanne said Sunday night and love to hear Papa T's perspective. Yeah, he's got a perspective on this one. And he and I disagree on a couple things. So I know you guys love when that happens and you all take his side. So go ahead, take his side. I can't wait to hear it from the chat and from all of you. But thanks for coming to hang out. You guys are the best. I will see you maybe tomorrow night, but at the very latest, I'll see you on Monday. Until then, I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. I hope it's cold where you are and you enjoy it. I hope it's warm where some of you are and you enjoy that. But I'm out of here, going from the cold back to the heat today. Peace out. Thanks for watching another episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the thumbs up and share with your friends who may be interested here on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe.
You can also follow us on Instagram, X, Facebook, and TikTok. And don't forget to check out the Lawyer You Know podcast featuring new episodes every week. And if you have a case that you want to personally talk to us about in your life, if it's a personal injury case, wrongful death, catastrophic injury, car accident, truck accident, or slip and fall case, please email us at lawyeryouknow@gmail.com.
And of course, all these links I just mentioned are included in the description below on this episode and every episode. So until next time, this is Peter Tragos, The Lawyer You Know.